youth unemployment has reached alarming levels in the country. The latest figures from Statistics South Africa have put joblessness among young people at a massive 66.5%. However, a government-funded agency tasked with finding solutions to youth unemployment is celebrating what it says is a 96% achievement of its targets. National Youth Development Agency Executive Board Chairperson Asanda Luwaca joining us now to discuss some of these achievements. Ms. Luwaca, thank you very much for your time. Among what you are saying that you are counting as achievements here is the 7th clean audit for the financial year 2020 to 2021. That is absolutely important. I don't think anyone can argue with that. But perhaps more interesting for young people listening to you and I now is what you say is a target of 96% that has been achieved. What exactly were these targets and where exactly are you making this progress?
Thank you, Koli, and good morning to yourself and your viewers. Thank you for having me on your show this morning. Yes, indeed, the National Youth Development Agency has recorded some significant achievements and progress insofar as our work as it pertains to youth development. So, as you've correctly alluded to, one, we have been able to reach 96% of our targets, as reflected in the previous financial year. Currently, as things stand, we've got about 44 full-service branches across the country. We've also been able to, so when you ask particularly what these targets entail, it would be anything that relates to, the products and services that we make available to young people. For instance, we have been able to record about 8,000 youth-owned enterprises that have been supported with the financial interventions, including, your grant as well as the relief fund that was available at the peak or at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've also been able to create about 37,000 jobs, as well as being able to sustain those jobs through our grant, the relief fund that I spoke about, our voucher program, as well as being able to create the various linkages so that young and upcoming businesses and enterprises will be able to access the relevant markets.
Can I stop you there for a moment, Asanda, and ask you, so you're saying that you've been able to create some 37,000 jobs. In which sectors were these created?
So it would be in your various sectors because what the agency has, we've got certain programs as well as platforms. For instance, we've got the sayouth.mobi platform, which is a zero-rated platform. In other words, it does not require a young person to have data. So a young person who would want to take advantage of the various employment opportunities can log into that platform. And what it does is that it links your prospective employers with employees. So that's on the one aspect, right? So it's the issues of jobs or job opportunities. But secondly, we have various programs in place that are aimed at assisting young enterprises, and it is through our assistance, be it financial as well as non-financial support, that those particular enterprises have been able to employ further young people. So the 37,000 would be a combination of, the various job opportunities that we make available, as well as the assistance that we provide to businesses that are.
I'll tell you the reason why I'm asking for various sectors where you say you have created this employment of about 37,000. The Democratic Alliance, writing to your chief executive recently, Mr. Wasim Karim, complaining about what some people are saying is the inaccessibility of NYDA funding, and it is partly because young people, when they apply for funding online, a major setback is that they do not access your information because sometimes your website is not working. But even more frustrating for them, they're saying you don't have an actual presence in some of the provinces, which is why the online platform becomes ever more important. Your response to that criticism?
Yeah, I think, Toli, one, on the issue of accessibility, I can really attest that, it's one of the areas that, as the board or the newly appointed board, one of the areas that we wanted to ensure we upscale, right? And so it is through, the rigorous discussions that what came out of those was to ensure that we declare the year 2022 as the year of customer service at NYDA. So we are not blind to some of the negative perceptions as it relates to young people and the frustrations that they are raising insofar as accessing our various products and services. So where we are today is that we want to reposition the agency in such a way that we are able to span that gap and ensure that accessibility cuts across to every young person. And the one part is to ensure that, yes, as I've spoken about, we currently do have 44 service branches across the country. So as things stand, there is no particular province that does not have an NYDA office, right? But then we also understand that, and I'm sure you can attest to this, is that the past 2 years have exposed us to the fact that the nature of work has evolved, and this requires that we are able to adapt and to be agile to this changing ecosystem. So the issue of accessibility insofar as the online platform is concerned really became a priority. And what we are doing is that we're ensuring that the turnaround time wherein our youth development practitioners respond to applicants is shortened. We want to get to a point where a young person can get a response within 14 days, a maximum of 14 days.
All right.
So that we don't find ourselves in a situation where a young person complains about the lack of communication or the unresponsiveness that the agency has. So those are the areas we are cognizant to those critiques, and we are working tirelessly to resolve those challenges.
All right, so that's a concession there. What about the Youth Employment Service? This is a presidential program, and the criticism here is that you have failed to implement this program. How do you respond to that?
Okay, I wouldn't necessarily concede to that because one, as part of the Youth Employment Service, as you correctly stated, is part of the initiatives by the presidency, is that we were able to adopt this presidential pathway management program that is spearheaded by the presidency, which has already resulted in many young people be having access to job opportunities. So initiatives such as your Youth Employment Service are one of the areas that we want to upscale to ensure that we're able to fight the high levels of unemployment, poverty, and inequality, particularly as it relates to young people.
And so I'm not sure whether you are conceding that indeed there are challenges in you implementing this YES initiative, or you're saying that there are areas where you could improve?
What I'm saying, Toli, is that one, we do have the various programs, one being the Youth Employment Service that is currently in place. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that it has been ineffective insofar as executing its mandate. Right. However, what I would say is that one, we are obviously looking at, how do we ensure that programs of this nature are able to respond directly to the high rise of unemployment. But I think we must concede to the fact that, the program has already yielded the positive results that we had envisioned when it was initially incepted, or in its initial inception, rather.
Yeah. What about youth entrepreneurship targets? How would you say you're doing on that score? Because young people may not necessarily get absorbed into jobs, but they most certainly can create their own employment by running their own businesses. How are you doing on that score? Because that should be a primary aim for you.
Yeah, indeed, Kolitsi, you're correct. Particularly also given the fact that, you've got, your various government instruments and policies. For instance, the NDP has particular targets insofar as upscaling small businesses, small enterprises. So at the NYDA, we have been able to help, your various small businesses to be able to expand into new markets. We provided business management training for young people. We've also been able to connect emerging entrepreneurs with mentors and networks. We've been able to expand access to capital with our other development finance partners, as well as being able to offer, various grants and vouchers for startup businesses. So the issue of, how do we upscale ensure that young people are part and parcel of the various business opportunities is a priority that we are taking seriously at the NYDA, because we also understand, what is the importance and the value add that assisting small businesses can have insofar as, employing people and then also alleviating or assisting with the high unemployment rate, and also just to ensure that we have we have young people that are able to access and become active participants in the mainstream economy.
Very quick one, I'm out of time. If I were to ask you to put a figure to youth entrepreneurship support from the NYDA, where would you put that figure against the 96% achievement you have spoken about?
Sure. It's a difficult one to respond to at the top of my head, but what I can do is ensure that our the various reporting instruments, our APPs, are perhaps sent to yourselves. But I at this point I would not be able to give the exact figure. But I do. Yeah. Let me just leave it at that.
Okay, all right. No, we'll forgive you for now, but when we get you next, we shall pose that question to you once again. Asanda Luwaca, she is the Executive Board Chairperson at the National Youth Development Agency. Thank you very much for your time. Still